I'm here in Medjugorje, and I'm with, what's your name?
Anne-Marie Vipievsky,
And where are you from?
Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
And first time here?
Yes,
And how is
but not the last.
But not, why not the last? What happened?
Everybody who is here has been here 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. I did not understand it until I came here.
Mm-hmm.
This place is special.
Yeah.
All hours of the day or night, you hear singing. I open my hotel door. I'm at the Villa Grace, right around the corner from this place, Hotel Grace. And I walk out on my balcony at night, and teenagers are coming down the streets singing to the Blessed Mother. Mm-hmm. No such thing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Nobody's going down the street singing. All day long, people are praising God. You go into a store and they say to you in Croatian something about God be with you. What is it, Tom? You would know.
Thank God. Bogu hvala.
What is it?
Bogu hvala, for example, say thank God.
Yes, or that like welcome God. It's just absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I grew up, I'm Polish descent, as is my husband. And when I grew up, my mother constantly said, go with God, be with God, in Polish to me, because she lived with her Polish grandmother, who came right from Poland, and all day long in Polish, they praised God constantly, all day, prayed throughout the day. And it's like that here still in 2024.
Yes.
It's just amazing. And I went to adoration, which I have never done in my life, and I'm 64 this week. I've never gone to adoration, which is a shame. And I walked in not knowing what adoration was. And here it's just people staring at the chalice that contains the Eucharist, the living God. 1 hour, no one moves, and they are just deep, deep, deep in prayer. I have never seen that. And then the hour is up and the doors open, and people are like, oh, they were all in a trance. I've just never seen it. Prayer, mass, joy, such joy.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
And we are all a work in progress. We learn, no? That's our Catholic faith.
Yes.
Step by step.
And this whole trip, every time I think something, like I was on the plane.
Yeah.
I took Lufthansa, German Air, and I was happy to take Lufthansa. I lived in Germany 3.5 years, and my husband served there in the armed forces.
Where did you live?
Near Heidelberg, in a town called Dilsberg.
Oh, you liked it?
Yeah, in the Nähe von Neckargemünd.
Yeah.
yeah. And we loved it, absolutely loved it, loved our German neighbors. And we were sitting on the airplane, and my husband turned and he said, hey, it's your birthday, April 13th. And I thought, wow, first time in my life that I'm not having birthday cake. Because I'm on an airplane heading to Medjugorje. And as I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself, even when we were married, 1 year my husband forgot, and then he remembered and he ran to a diner and bought me a slice of cake. I always have birthday cake. It's just my tradition. Out of nowhere, a gorgeous, tall German man appeared, a steward he worked, knelt down next to me and said, happy birthday from Lufthansa, handed me a big piece of cheesecake in a circle, a whole little cheesecake. And he said, here's birthday cake for you. And it was covered with raspberry sauce. And then he handed me a bottle of champagne.
Oh, so beautiful. No?
It was just, I thought, wow, I'm just thinking, And then all kinds of things have been happening that way. But the biggest, most amazing, fabulous thing that happened to us, I thought if I could just catch sight of one of the people who get the apparitions, if I could just see Maria or Mirjana or Ivan, I know they don't want to be touched, but I know they're going to heaven. I just wanted to see them. Well, we were able, Ivan has been living in the United States for 6 months. He just got back. And we were able to go to his home, to the little chapel right outside his home. Our tour group went for the apparition. So the Blessed Mother came and we were there. I couldn't believe it. I've watched so many videos about it and we were there for it. And I had bought tons and tons of rosaries and crosses and all sorts of religious articles. And I had them all in my backpack with me. Mm-hmm. And I was just hoping that I could get them blessed somewhere in Medjugorje. And I would have my own priest back at home bless them, but I wanted them blessed in Medjugorje. Mm-hmm. And Ivan finished the apparition, and he came to, and he said it's very hard for him to get back to being Ivan after he has been with Our Lady. Mm-hmm. And he has this transition period. He doesn't want to talk much. He's just really, he still wants to be with Our Lady, not back where. And he said, but I want to let you know that Our Lady said she blessed all of the religious articles in this room. And he said, she told me she was going to do that. And then she blessed them in Aramaic, her language. And I thought, how cool is that the bag of stuff that I have was blessed by the Mother of God in Aramaic? Mm-hmm. Wow. So when I got back to the room, I put all those objects aside with a big sign. These are the ones that were blessed by the Mother of God, because I didn't want to mingle them with things I bought off a street vendor that were not blessed by the Mother of God. So it's just been all kinds of amazing things are happening this week. And the biggest thing, I'm a big fan of Father Donald Callaway. Yeah. He is a Marian priest, and right now he lives in Steubenville, Ohio. And he tells his story, his testimony, and he was a wild, wild, wild young man. You probably know his story. Everybody does. Yeah.
Keep on going.
Yeah, yeah. He, when he was a teenager, he ended up, his father was, in the service, in the Marine Corps, and his father got orders for Japan. So he had to go with his dad to Japan and his mom. And he was wild, 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 and he was doing heroin, and he got in with the Japanese mafia. Mm-hmm. And if you just Google Father Donald Callaway, or like YouTube him, I mean, he has all, he tells his story. Mm-hmm. But he got worse and worse and worse, and he was wanted internationally. He was robbing Japanese stores at night because he knew they weren't real secure, and he was able to take the cash. He did horrible things. And he was sent back to the United States, one military policeman on each side escorting him back. And when he got back, his mother had to come home. His father had to finish his tour in Japan. His mother, Lachita, came back with him. And his mother had just converted to Catholicism, as did his dad. And she had a book. The title was something like Our Lady of Medjugorje. Do you know the exact title? No, it's like Our Lady of Medjugorje. Mm-hmm. And he started reading it at home, where he had to be for house arrest. Mm-hmm. And something happened. Our Lady spoke to him, and it clicked. He had dropped out of high school, and he just had to become a Catholic. And he ran down to the military chaplain, a Catholic chaplain, and he said, I have to become Catholic. Tell me about everything. Tell me about the Eucharist. And the priest said, I'm about to start Mass. Just sit in the back, please. Afterwards, I'll talk to you. And he said, I want you to go to Mass. And the kid did, the teenager, Donald Callaway. And he said there were Filipino women sitting there, and they kept turning and trying to get him to pray the next decade. He didn't even know what they were holding. He was holding rosary. And he said these Filipino women just kept after him, on post, because they must have been there with their spouses. And he said, thanks to Filipino women, mainly God, Our Lady, and these Filipino women, he became a Catholic. And he wrote to the Marian priest in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. He loved that order. He heard about them. They accepted him. They helped him get through high school, college. He got his doctorate. His vocabulary is now phenomenal. He speaks around the world. He's so charismatic. So I said to my husband just a few weeks ago, I said, my mother just died. For years, you have been helping me take care of her. We're free now. Our son is grown. We can do something. What should we do? And he said, I want to go to Medjugorje. I said, you do? I said, we've been to Fatima. We've been to Lourdes on a military pilgrimage when he was still in the army. We've been to Częstochowa. which is not a site where Mary appeared, but it's a very holy site in Poland. And, it has the famous painting of Our Lady of Częstochowa. And he said, I want to go to Medjugorje. I said, okay. So I went to my computer and I plugged in trips to Medjugorje. And the first one that popped up was Father Donald Callaway leads a group to Medjugorje. I turned to my husband. I said, this is the guy that I watch his videos all the time. Let's go. I called. They accepted us. I then told a friend. She called and they said, oh no, that's booked. There's, no room on that. It was just a miracle. And I've talked to people who said that they were told months ago they couldn't get in. So somebody must have dropped out and we just called at the exact moment and we got in, which is wonderful. And then I told people at my church and they called, they couldn't get in. It was booked. So it's just a miracle that we were able to get on this exact trip. And Father Callaway has been saying the masses and he's just such an amazing speaker. Another one that I just am amazed that I'm going to start following him is Father Leon. And I don't know how to say his last name. It's P-E-R. Pereira.
From Medjugorje.
Yes. E-I-R-A.
Beautiful priest. Huh?
P-E-R-E-I-R-A. Yes. And he's not just a beautiful priest. He just tells you, he says, wake up. Wake up. He yells at you. It's fabulous. It's what we all need, and he said, if your neighbors don't know you're Catholic, then you're not, because you're not practicing your Catholic faith. If people don't even realize that you're a Catholic. So he's an amazing, amazing person.
Yeah. Keep on going.
No.
And how is it to be with Father Callaway? How is that for you? Experience him?
He's amazing. And his mother is adorable. She's a very short Italian lady.
She's here as well.
She's with him.
Wow,
Lachita Callaway.
Yeah.
Yes. His dad wasn't able to come. And he has a brother who's home. He's in his 40s. But the mom is here and she is precious. When I got off the airplane in Sarajevo, it's a 2.5-hour ride then. We went from Philadelphia to Sarajevo, or to Frankfurt, Germany, and then Frankfurt, Germany to Sarajevo, and then a 2.5-hour ride here by bus. And she sat next to me on the bus. So it was wonderful that I had 2.5 hours with her.
You see, the one who delights in the Lord, you are joyful, you are happy.
I just can't believe
get all these presents.
I couldn't believe that I was with his mom. She's so darn cute. She's really, she exudes joy, And I just kept saying, thank you for your son. My God, he's converting people right and left. People are not embarrassed to go to confession to a man who did heroin, who stole, who was wanted by the police, who was an alcoholic. He did it all, And now he's just an amazing, amazing Orthodox priest, really,
Catholic.
Yes, as Catholic as can be. And he keeps saying, we have the Eucharist. We have the living God. And he's so happy, just happy to be Catholic. It's just wonderful.
And what is the Eucharist for you? What did you learn from Father?
That it really, truly is the living God. And now I can sit there for an hour and just converse with, looking at the host. As before, I never did. I went to Mass all the time, but now I think I'm going to start going to daily Mass as much as I can.
And you pray the rosary? Did you pray that before?
I used to pray it here and there. As we got closer to the trip, I was trying to do it a few times a week. Now I'm going to do it all the time.
Why?
Yeah. Because Our Lady asked us to, and she didn't ask us to do much. She said we should go to confession at least once a month. I was going once a year. It's called the Easter duty. You should go to at least minimum as a Catholic once a year. And I did the minimum. And I don't want to keep doing the minimum. It's because I'm now a senior citizen. And there's a joke that why do senior citizens read the Bible? Because they're studying for finals. And it's true.
I thought yesterday too, one thing is sure for all of us. We are going to die.
Right. No one gets out of here alive.
No.
No one.
I mean, we are going to resurrect.
You will die.
We will resurrect in heaven.
Yeah.
A new life, but here, for sure, no?
Yes, for sure.
And then when you think of that, and also I think, I'm 52 now, I think, man, how many more years, And
Yep.
real,
Right.
real, no? The finals are coming.
And that's what Father Leon said today. He said, what if right now the doors of the church were locked and we were taken over and they put a crucifix in the aisle and said, anyone who spits on it may go. You know, whoever closed the doors, you know, if we were attacked by some foreign whatever right now and they came in with guns and said, spit on the cross, you can go. Would you go? Would you spit on the cross? And everybody was like, no, none of us would spit on the cross. And he said, you say that, but do you go to Mass every Sunday? He said, if you don't go to Mass every Sunday, you shouldn't call yourself a Catholic. Because if you truly were a Catholic and truly would die for Jesus, you'd be there. You know, and everybody was like, oh. No, I go.
But it's a truth, sometimes truth hurts.
Yeah. And then he's the one, Father Leon Pereira, who kept saying, wake up, wake up.
Absolutely. It's an amazing priest. He's
Yeah.
straightforward, the truth,
Yeah.
speaking it out.
Yes.
And
the priests here are very, very upfront. They just say it like it is. Like I went to confession here and, the priest said to me, I went and it said he speaks Polish and English. So after we were done our confession, I said, oh, Father, I just want to let you know I'm Polish. And he started talking Polish to me and I said, I don't speak it. And he said, why not? Why would someone of Polish descent not have learned the language? And I said, oh, I never took the time. He said, that is sad. And I just felt terrible. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm lazy. I just felt like a dog. No, in America, priests wouldn't do that. They, you know, but here they just tell it like it is. And it is sad. My mother just died. It's too late now. But all those years, I could have had her teach me Polish. I mean, she was my mother. I could have, I could be bilingual right now. I speak some German only because we live there and I picked it up, but he's right. They tell it like it is here.
Beautiful. And what do you think? I read on Facebook, Christ died publicly on the cross. Are we publicly defending him?
Right. I know what you mean because so many times I just think people say things, you know, that everybody's trying to be politically correct. And we have to stand up for something or we'll fall for everything, you know, and they say that all the time. Stand up for something or you will fall for everything. And it really is true. Yeah.
Beautiful what you say. And so how was the experience of confessing here now? You said once a year. Now you did it here.
Yeah.
How
was
the
it was just lovely. Like Father said, no matter what you've done, just get rid of it here in Medjugorje. And the lines are very long, but they move fast because there's just rows and rows, and you can go in privately and close the door, or there's priests sitting everywhere, and you know that they're priests because, you know, like Franciscans, they've got the brown robe and the robes, and they have a sign that'll say the language. And it's just so cool to be watching people who are confessing in Italian and Spanish and Polish and all these different languages. It's really, really wonderful. Yeah, it's really neat. And it also reminds me how Americans only speak English pretty much. And here, you'll start talking to anybody, the shopkeepers, you know, and they try to figure out what you are. And they'll say, oh, this person's German. And they just fluent German. And then, oh, this person is a local. And, you know, fluent Croatian and fluent English. And they just go from language to language to language. It's amazing.
And a favorite spot for you in Medjugorje?
Oh, I would say Ivan's little chapel where the Mother of God was. That was a very favorite spot.
And how was it for you to be in the presence? Did you feel anything when the apparition happened?
Just total peace. And I didn't want to leave. Even though, you know, I didn't see the Blessed Mother, you know, and people were hoping to, and, you know, some of our groups said, maybe it'll happen to us, you know, but it didn't seem to happen to anybody.
But you felt peace.
I felt peace. Yeah, I really did. And I climbed the Apparition Hill yesterday, and I'm out of shape. And it really was a struggle for me. I mean, a major struggle, but I did it. And then I was coming down, a very tall man, maybe 6'2", 6'3", and big guy, all muscles. And he looked to be about 70 maybe. I was trying to find a rock to put my next step, and it was just such a bad spot. And I turned to look like what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And he put his wooden cane down. I had the metal ones that I had bought online, and he must have purchased one here. It said Medjugorje, and it was like a souvenir, but he was using it. And he put it down, and he leaned forward, and then his foot caught, and he fell smack on his face. Wow. And bounced up. His body bounced. And then he just laid there. And I'm thinking, I've got to get to him. And he was only a few feet away, but it was so stony. And I was trying to figure out where to put my stick to just get to him. Mm-hmm. But my husband, former Army Ranger, he just, infantry, he was there. And he helped him get up. And he let the guy just sit for a minute. And then he said, "Are you ready to get up?" And the man said yes. And he helped him get up. And the guy seemed okay. And I'm thinking he couldn't be okay. I mean, you could hear his whole body just smack, mm-hmm. And then the head hit and came back up. But he looked fine. And he said, "I feel fine." I'm thinking, you're just saying that, pride or whatever. But he really did look fine. And then this morning, I met a woman mm-hmm. who didn't know that he had fallen. Mm-hmm. And she was really struggling getting down the hill. And she saw that he was a big, strong man. So she went over to him and she said, "Will you help me?" He said, "Of course." And he put out his arm, and she said she was just hanging on him. And when they got to the bottom, she said, "Oh, you're so strong." And he said, "Well, actually, I fell." And he showed her how his cane had broken 3 pieces. He took it down, I guess, because he didn't want to leave trash. Mm-hmm. And she said, "You fell?" And he said, "Oh, yeah." And his cane really was in 3 pieces. He had a short wooden cane. Mm-hmm. And I said, I witnessed it. I said, he could walk all the way because I lost track of him with the crowd. And she said, "Oh yeah, he was great." So I think that was a miracle, because it made like a smacking sound. Yeah,
maybe it was the wake-up call from Father Leon in another way.
But he was fine, and he could help others. Mm-hmm. It was really, really amazing.
You liked it up there on the hill in
yes.
front of Our Lady?
And this is the amazing thing. Mm-hmm. We get there, and who is waiting at the bottom of the hill to go up? He was just about to start. Ivan, from one of the sick.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh my God, there he is again. There's Ivan." And so we all clustered around him, and instantly he started up, and he stopped at every station. Mm-hmm. And he saw that we were all Americans, and he said the stations in English for us. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't believe that we were following Ivan. He's right there next to us. It was amazing. I mean, if anyone told me that I could go to Medjugorje and be with one of the, what do you call them? Apparition visionaries. I could be with one of the 6 visionaries as I climbed, mm-hmm. that I could go to his home, and that I could be there. Because, there's only 3 that are still getting the daily message, and I could be there when he got it. It blows my mind.
But when I look at you, you're so joyful. It's written in the Bible, the one who delights in the God, the wishes of the heart are granted. And look, well,
when I go home, my friends are not going to like me, because I am just going to insist that they become Catholic.
Maybe for you, what I learned is by changing, by doing it, an example that they see how joyful, then they will change. But I know women, you talk different as a man. What I saw, the example, wow, she changed. What happened to her? They will come to you and talk to you.
Maybe.
I don't know, it's just, but
right.
You are a woman, you have the sense, the feeling.
Well, there was a woman, and she's former military, so she's been talking to my husband, because he's also a veteran, mm-hmm. and she's in our group. And I saw her yesterday, and she was heading into a store, and she said, "I have already bought 31 rosaries." I said, 31? She said 25 for Catholic friends and family, mm-hmm. and 6 for friends who don't know it yet, but they're becoming Catholic. She said, "They're good people, they're Christian, but I want them to have a living God. I want them to have the Eucharist." Like yesterday, Father Donald Callaway said, mm-hmm. he said, people will say, "Ooh, you eat his body and drink his blood. That's creepy." And he said, and yet, when someone sees a little infant, what do? you lean down and you go, oh, and you say, I'm going to eat you up. I'm going to eat you up. And he said, and the infant Jesus is letting us eat him up. He is giving us his body. Just like when you grab a baby, and he said, everybody does it no matter what nationality you are. When you're holding an infant and you go on their belly, and he said, and Jesus is giving us himself. It was really very beautiful.
And I think this is for Protestant friends watching. They want to have this living relationship. They always talk, oh, you don't have a relationship. We have the most intimate relationship through consuming the Eucharist, the living God, no?
Yes, I think I really want to become a daily communicant, which I never wanted to before. Truthfully, I never, ever, ever miss Mass. Even when I was in Morocco, and no matter where I am, I always go to Sunday Mass. But, when I have to do an extra holy day, I'm always like, oh, that's twice this week. I have to go. Now I want to go. I don't know what has happened.
Be the same, don't worry.
I don't know if it's in the coffee. There's something about Medjugorje. I joke. I mean, it's not the coffee.
Maybe it's the coffee.
No, it's not the coffee.
No, it's
although the coffee here is excellent.
It's good?
It's fabulous.
Yeah, like it?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
The cake, you tried the cake?
The cake, yes. I'm like a lawnmower. I've been or a vacuum cleaner, vacuuming up all the fabulous food. The food is fabulous here.
You do also the seafood diet. You see the food?
Right. And my husband has celiac disease.
Yeah.
And we brought a ton of food because we thought, oh my, what is he going to eat in Bosnia or Herzegovina? I mean, what is he going to do, And then we get here and he is eating the best. The people at the hotel, Villa Grace, we told them ahead of time that he had celiac disease, that he wasn't just one of those, fad diet. Oh, I have to be gluten-free. He truly he cannot eat wheat or rye or barley. He truly has celiac disease. And they are just giving him the best stuff. We'll have a nice mushroom soup, like a broth, delicious, really delicious. And they'll bring him out a fabulous vegetable soup, tons of little carrots, everything fresh, no pasta because he can't have the wheat. And then last night we all had like fish sticks, in like a wheat batter, and they brought him this big, beautiful fish broiled because he can't have it in the batter. And everybody at the table said, we have celiac. Everybody wanted to be a celiac, It's funny.
And tell me, a lot of people look for that joy that you have. What would you tell them as advice?
They have to come to Medjugorje. It's all there is to it. You have to come. And now I know why people come back and come back and come back, I mean.
Why?
They just, you can't get enough of it. I don't want to leave. I'm supposed to go, Monday is the end of the tour. And we scheduled a few extra days in Dubrovnik. I don't want to go to Dubrovnik. I want to stay here.
That's what they said before. They say like, okay, we do 1 day in Medjugorje and we do 7 days at the beach. Dubrovnik.
Yeah.
The next time.
Right.
No days at the beach. Only Medjugorje.
And there is not a hotel here that I have seen, not one, that has a pool or a spa. But they're just, you don't want to be in the pool. You want to go to, all these things at night.
You want to go to the Divine Spa.
Yes. And then there's the statue of the risen Christ that actually water or some kind of a liquid comes from the knee. And it's not all the time that it does it. But I went and I stood in the line and it wasn't doing it. And I thought, oh, well, but I still went up to rub it. And then a little drop came out. And I thought, oh my God, it's happening.
And impossible to explain, no?
Impossible. They don't know why. Scientists have studied why in the world would water stay, it was a really hot day a few days ago when I was there. Really hot. Today it's cooler. I can finally wear my sweater. I packed too many clothes for cold weather, and I only had like one summer shirt, and I was wearing it that day. And I took this little hanky that says Medjugorje, and I rubbed it, and then I looked, and this bead of water appeared, and I said, oh.
And what is for you until now in your life, the biggest life lesson? What would you like to share with people?
Well, like Father Leon would say, wake up. Wake up. And he said, all of you, Father Leon today said, all of you, he was at Mass. He started Mass, and then Father Donald Callaway took over as the main celebrant. But before Mass started, Father Leon said, all of you, if you were told you had 1 hour to live, what would you do? And he said, if it's, oh, I better run to confession, he said, too late. You should always be ready. And then he was telling stories of different saints, who were about to become martyrs. Like they were told in prison, at sunrise, we are going to kill you. We're going to burn you at the stake or whatever. Do you have any last requests? And these saints just said, let me have a good night's sleep. They were ready. They were always ready to meet their God. And he said, if you can't say you have 1 hour, there's nothing more that you would do, you're not ready. And he said, wake up, be ready.
In a state of grace,
yes,
confessed.
Yes. And I have a very, very hard time forgiving. And different people, who have rubbed me the wrong way, over the years. I try to forgive, but I'll never forget. And this theme here is you have to forgive. And when the apostle said to Jesus, how do we pray? He gave them the Our Father. And it says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespassed against us. And I just kind of say that part real fast because, certain people have just done things and I'm thinking, how could you have done this or done that to me? It just really irritates me. There's one lady at our church I used to, I really have a grudge against her for something she did to me. And if I sit near her at church, I really can't enjoy the Mass. And my husband knows that and he'll say, oh, there's so-and-so. So we move our seat so that I can enjoy the Mass, But now I have forgiven her here in Medjugorje, and I don't care if she sits next to me.
And maybe,
I have finally forgiven her in my heart. Yeah.
Beautiful.
As before it was forgive, but don't forget what she did. Now I forgive and forget, and I'm moving on. I'm not going to let that woman keep me from going to heaven, because you have to forgive to get to heaven.
As Jesus said.
Yes.
We can't forgive in heaven if you don't forgive on earth.
Exactly. And they keep reiterating that. And I'm thinking, do they know I have this problem? And they're looking at me because they keep saying over and over, you have to forgive if you want to go to heaven.
I can confirm. And you're married so long. People in the Arnfo have good marriages. And how you talk about your husband so nice. What do you give us an advice for couples how to keep the marriage alive, healthy, good?
Worship together. Worship together. I was in love with a guy in college, and he was an atheist. And I went to my Catholic priest, and I told him that I really love this atheist, but my parents were against it because he was an atheist. My Polish Catholic parents did not think it was good to marry an atheist. And he said, well, I will not perform the ceremony if he's an atheist. And I just thought, And we ended up breaking up over other things. And then I met my wonderful, wonderful Polish Catholic husband. I'm Polish Catholic. Oh, my parents were so happy.
Prayers for her.
Yeah. When we have Polish customs like Święconka, the food blessing on Holy Saturday before Easter, I can say to him, should we put together a basket for Święconka? And he knows what that is because he's Polish. So it's nice to have someone who has your same beliefs and customs, and they don't have to be your same ethnicity, but just someone who is Christian if you're Christian, so they understand, and that you can worship together.
So beautiful what you say. And a lot of people, they look for their vocation. How did you know that your husband was the right man then? You knew it in the heart at one point, or?
I don't know. I'm an attorney, and I spent a summer working for the Army Judge Advocate General, the JAG Corps, while I was still in law school. And I met my husband at Fort Benning, Georgia. He was commanding a group of basic trainees at the time, and someone said, you have to meet this Army officer. He's Polish and Catholic. And I said, oh, that's okay. And they said, no, you have to meet him. So they set up a blind date.
Wow.
And I just thought he was just an amazing person, talking to him. And then we dated every single night. And he took me to dinner every single day. I never had to cook.
Wow. Now I know the solution.
Yeah. And I thought, oh. And then by the end of this summer, when I had to go back to law school, for my second year, because it was after my first year, it's 3 years for law school. And I went 1 year and then went for the summer, met him. And I just knew he was going to be the one. So before I left, we got engaged. And then my father flew down from the Philadelphia area to drive back with me. I had a little Volkswagen Bug. And my father came so he drove me down, and then he flew home, and then he flew back to get me so we could drive back. And I said, Dad, I met a guy and I'm madly in love. And my father had been in the Army Reserve for 20 years, so he loves military. And I said, he's military, he's Polish, he's Catholic. My father was like, hallelujah. And then he met him and they really hit it off. And my father and my husband were so close. Really close. They did everything together. It was really nice. And when my dad died, my husband just sat down and made a list of all the things that he had done with my father. He's like, I built the playhouse for our son together. I built, just all the, and the list just went on and on. It was really nice.
So beautiful.
It was nice.
And what would you tell? You took care of your mother, you said?
Yes.
A lot of people have that challenges as well.
Yes.
What would you give them as an advice how to get through that time and how to be a good daughter, good son?
Well, my mother was very sick for so many years. And I wish that I had been more joyful. Towards the end, I was just exhausted. And, it was a 3-hour drive to get to her, and I had to do it every few days for years. And when I would arrive, she was so happy to see me. And instead of being happy, I would be like, here I am again, and I have all these things to do at home. I wish I had not done that. I wish I had just held on, prayed more, and been more joyful, because I was, I'm angry with myself, which I confessed at Medjugorje, but I just wish, that I had realized that, she wasn't going to last forever. She had so many things wrong with her. Yeah.
But we are all on the journey. We all learn.
Yes.
Nobody's perfect.
Right.
As Jesus said, the one who is perfect throw the stone. Nobody
right.
And at the end, what would you tell people? Why come to Medjugorje one time?
Well, you absolutely have to. This is such a special place. And I think it's because the people here, like our tour guide who's from here, he said when he was a teenager picking tobacco, they would sing the Ave Maria as they pick. They would pray as they pick. I have never in America heard people singing the Ave Maria while they work, ever. And even if they're Catholic, I think it's because the person next to them might be Muslim, the next person might be an atheist, and everyone's trying to not offend anyone. And here, everyone is just all praising God. And they're just singing, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, no?
It's really beautiful.
You got a favorite Bible verse?
I really don't.
Doesn't matter.
But I will start.
But the lesson here, you say, was the forgiving part, no?
Yes, for me, yeah.
That's what you get out of Medjugorje.
Yes, I have to stop holding grudges.
You're shining already. You did it already.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
And you have a favorite saint? Anna?
Oh gosh, a favorite saint. Well, I was a musician. I used to play piano and guitar, and I was a church organist years ago. So Saint Cecilia was my favorite saint then, because she's the patron saint of music.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but right now I like a lot of saints right now. Just Cecilia comes to mind.
So many Polish ones like Sister Faustina.
Oh, exactly.
John Paul II.
Yes, Saint Pope John Paul II. Yes, or Saint Faustina Polish. Yes, you're right.
Wow. What can I say? Thank you for that beautiful interview.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad I got to meet Medjugorje Tom.
Look again. Coincidence, no?
I know. I asked the waiter if he knew where you were, and he said there.
Next to you.
You were 2 feet away.
Thank you.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's Our Lady putting the people together.
You should turn the camera so people know what you look like, so they can look for you. Because I had no idea what you look like, and I've been looking around for you.
But you see, God, if you delight in God, and you do, He grants the wishes of the heart. We met.
Yes, so true.
And a big pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, take care.